It's Monday, September 18th, 2023, and this is episode 292 of You Can Bet On That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet On That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Mike, we've got a little more information on the poker tournament that we put on a few weeks ago. First of all, the player that took you out, Here to Blue 714. I didn't realize this until he contacted us, but he took me out back in our March 2021 tournament. So,
ooh, he's our nemesis.
Yeah, so Here to Blue 714, as far as we know, is the only one who's taken out the both of us. So that's something to shoot for all the rest of the people who've taken one of us out at this point.
Yeah. Well, and Tim Lawson ought to be scared, right? He's coming after Tim.
Oh,
next.
That would be the trifecta. Take Tim out next. Yeah. So
that'll get him the golden sombrero.
You got a goal set for you already, Here to Blue 714. Also, we mentioned on our last episode that listener Richard, as he often does, offered to donate $100 to the charity of the winner's choice. And our winner, I Draw 5, chose the ALS Association to receive the donation. And what a great cause. For those who don't know, ALS is a cruel disease, if I can use that adjective. It's
probably the cruelest.
It's terrible because it gradually takes away the patient's ability to use their muscles until ultimately they can't do anything on their own while keeping their mind completely intact. So it's very difficult, not just for the patient, but for family members as well.
Yeah, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease.
Right.
And usually you die when the muscles don't work anymore and you can't breathe.
Stephen Hawking was one of those cases where he actually survived quite a while, much longer than most patients do. But when Lou Gehrig got it, it sort of brought the disease to the attention of the public, and donating to the ALS Association, just a great cause.
Yeah, and I've read recently that they've made some big strides in research on that.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, so, if they could find a way to stop that, in the early stages or something, it'd be to save thousands of lives.
Yeah. So, again, thank you to Richard and I Draw 5. Well, we got an email from listener Eamon, who was playing at the Empire Casino in London. He was playing blackjack, and he was a little confused because he saw a bunch of additional betting circles on the table. Like each spot had multiple circles, not just for the main bet, but also for the side bets. And he was trying to figure out what that was for. And eventually somebody came up to the table and said, "Oh, I'd like to bet behind." They're just extra circles so that people can bet on players who are already sitting at the table. And this is not uncommon. We saw it a lot in Pai Gow poker when we would play in the olden days at the tribal casinos. And I guess just at Empire Casino, it's something that's encouraged and a lot of people want to do it. So there are these individual circles. And Eamon had a couple of interesting questions. First of all, who would make the decision on the hand, whether to hit, whether to stand? It would probably be either the person who was originally sitting there, or maybe it's the person who has the most money bet on the circle.
Yeah.
I
think it would have to be the person whose spot it is.
Who's sitting there, who got there originally. That's what you're thinking.
Right.
I agree because, otherwise somebody could come up behind and just bet $1 more than the person sitting there and have the decision. So that's probably the answer to the first question is, it's the person sitting there. But then what happens if the decision is to double down or split? You might have a situation where the person betting behind doesn't have the extra money to increase the bet. Now, I was thinking in the case of doubling down, it's probably not that big a deal. The person behind can also double down or double down for less. That's certainly allowed. Or just not add any additional money. They only get one more card. Right? Big deal. But I was thinking, what about the case of a split, and particularly splitting eights? So those familiar with basic strategy know that you're always supposed to split eights, but that is a defensive move. not an offensive move. In other words, when you're dealt a pair of eights, that's a losing hand. And by splitting the eights, you reduce the amount of money that you're going to lose in the long run, but it's still a losing hand.
Right. Well, you're hoping at best to get a split, like one hand wins, one hand loses.
Yeah, right. So it's a better hand than just keeping the eights together, but it's still a losing hand. So what happens when the main player wants to split and the person betting behind doesn't have the extra money to split? That person betting behind, it's actually an advantage for them to start with just a single eight in one hand. That's actually an advantage over having, two eights to start with. Now, again, we don't know the answer to the question, what happens to players behind? Are they forced to bet more or relinquish their bet? We don't know. Does anybody out there know what happens when the main player decides to double down or split, and maybe the people betting behind aren't able to add the additional money? If anybody out there knows, let us know. I'm surprised that we don't know, with all the gambling we've done.
With Paigo, it's a little different because you're in a win or lose situation.
Right. You don't have to increase your bet under
more
any
cards or increasing your bet. So it's kind of one of those things where that doesn't come into play.
No.
Yeah, that's a good question. If maybe somebody will know.
Yeah. So let us know.
My daughter just got back from England and she's only 19. But she said she walked by the casinos and saw all the signs, but she didn't go in because she assumed they were, you had to be 21. I don't know if that's the case in London or not.
It's 18. Yeah, she could have gone in.
Oh, she could have gone in.
This is. I'll tell you, your story now is very disappointing.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed.
She could have given us a report.
Right. I should have found that out for her. She didn't tell me she went by him until she, was back here. God, I should have had her go in.
Yeah, the two of us should have thought about this ahead of time to say, hey, while you're there, scope it out for us. So, yeah.
I'm chalking this up to my elderly situation that I'm in.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, we're actually going to hear from Eamon later about his experiences at several of the London area casinos. So we're going to get some information.
So we do have a man on the street.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Okay.
Hey, we also got an email from listener Daniel. Let me read it for you. I was playing Pai poker. I had a full house, deuces full of sixes. As I should, I put the pair of sixes in the 2-card hand. The dealer had 3 aces with nothing else. The correct setting for the dealer at this casino is to split the aces, playing a pair of aces in the 5-card hand and 1 ace in the 2-card hand. And that makes sense, Dr. Mike. If you have nothing to put in the 2-card hand, definitely split up the aces.
That's definitely the way.
Yeah. This dealer, clearly inexperienced, attempted to set his hand with 3 aces in the 5-card hand and 2 rags in the 2-card hand. This would have caused my hand to push instead of win. Right, because the dealer would have had 3 aces in the 5-card hand and Daniel had those 3 deuces in the 5-card hand. Right. I obviously objected, told him he was incorrect, ultimately calling over the floor to confirm the hand was set incorrectly. This switched my hand to a win. Unbeknownst to me, changing the setting of the hand caused every other player at the table to change from a push to losing. One player was extremely upset with me for getting the dealer to fix his mistake as it caused him to lose. Was I correct to argue with the dealer to correct his error? It clearly made a difference to my hand, but it also cost everyone else. And Daniel was basically asking, was this bad etiquette? Absolutely not, Daniel. Of course, you need to call attention to this because you're involved. This is your money.
Right. There's no question about this, Mark. I mean, you're protecting your money, unless other players were going to reimburse you or something.
Yeah, right.
They were going to pay you.
It's a couple things. You're not at a table with all your friends where you're cutting them a break, right? By, I'll take the hit. But first of all, how would you even be able to communicate that information so quickly? Right? You're trying to assess what's going on first, right? You're not looking at everybody else's hands. You're looking just at the dealer. The dealer clearly made a mistake.
Right.
I understand this guy being upset that he lost, but he should not be upset at you for doing the right thing for yourself. Now, if you'd been somebody just walking by the table and you had no vested interest in the game, you set your hand wrong, that's something different. But no, this is your money. And I have done this before. I did this once where the dealer, I can't remember the specifics, but it was a similar situation where the way the dealer set it up was a push. I thought you'd set it wrong. And by setting it the correct way, I turned out winning. And yes, it hurt everybody else at the table. And I apologized, but I wasn't really sorry because, this is my money that we're talking about. So, no.
Well, let's say that Daniel has like $10 bet. And let's say the other guy who lost had like $300 bet.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to be upset, but he also has to realize that Daniel's correct. That is the proper way to set it. And had the dealer known the proper way, he would have lost anyway.
Right, exactly. Right.
Whatever.
And again, it comes down to how quickly can anybody interpret the situation and communicate to the other players what's going on without letting the dealer know. Now, in your example, Dr. Mike, if the player betting $300 could very quickly have said to Daniel, yeah, that's set wrong, but don't say anything. I'll pay you the $10, right? And, if that could have been, which is very unlikely, then that's one thing. But no, Daniel, don't feel bad about it. I know it's no fun when another player gets mad at you, but you did nothing wrong. You're invested in this. It's your money. You did the right thing.
People are funny, though. It's like when, somebody rolls a dice and somebody inadvertently has their hand close to the rail, hits their hand, and it's 7 out. Everyone's like, oh, well, it could have hit their hand and been the point, too. Well, you just have to. I know, you have to go with the blows.
The thing is, your example, I don't even think it's analogous. Right? This is a case where Daniel did nothing wrong. You could argue that the person who put their hand down in the middle of the table did something wrong, even though, it's all random. But Daniel...
And you could argue that he did something wrong, but I don't consider that doing something wrong. That's just something that goes against the etiquette of the game, but it's not wrong. It's not like, oh, you did that, we have to kick you out of the game.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I definitely want to put Daniel's mind at ease.
Daniel's.
Certainly Dr. Mike and I would have done the exact same thing. That's the right thing to do when you've got money at risk, and it makes a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Daniel was completely correct. Now, when he jumped up and said in your face to all the other players.
That was a little rough.
That was a little rough.
Yeah, I agree. All right. We also got an email from listener Mark. Now, a couple episodes ago, listener Dan was asking why the cage had to make a phone call when he was cashing out with a high dollar amount of chips. And we offered up some reasons. We got a little more clarification from Mark. He said the phone call for large cash outs serves two purposes. The first is for anti-money laundering purposes. They call to verify that you have played, as opposed to somebody who's just coming in with a bunch of chips and, wait, where did you come from? You weren't actually playing at the table games? What's going on? So, again, reading from Mark's email, if you're structuring by giving someone chips to cash out and they show no play, an SAR, or suspicious activity report, will be filed. SARs actually get investigated, unlike CTRs. And again, structuring is when you're trying to avoid a CTR. Remember, CTRs are issued whenever you make any kind of transaction for $10,000 or more in cash. And if you try to break that up by maybe doing two different cash transactions, like doing one for $8,000 and then waiting a little bit and doing one for $5,000, that's called structuring, and that is illegal. And that's something that they watch for. Okay, going on with Mark's email. The second purpose at the lower end properties is to catch advantage players. The easiest way to avoid detection as an advantage player is to not show wins by rat-holing chips. That's by taking chips when you're playing and stuffing them in your pocket. As an example, Gold Coast requires a call at $500. If, for example, you buy in for $400 and cash out for $200 while burying $500, that will get picked up when going to the cage. So thank you for that additional information, Mark.
Yeah, have you ever seen anybody rat-holing chips and the pit not notice it?
I don't know. I think I've done it a few times. Whether or not the pit noticed, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, I've seen people leave and I say to the dealers that I'm familiar with, I say, Yeah, he left with like 200. I thought he was doing better than that. And they'll just turn to me and say, yeah, he rat-holed like 600.
Yeah, they do notice it.
They already know because they're counting chips.
Especially
right?
the black
all
chips,
the time.
right? Yeah.
Especially the black and the purple.
And they're looking at how many are in people's racks. And then they're saying, there used to be 5 and now there's 2, right? Yeah, definitely.
Right. Sometimes it's not in a devious way either. They're doing it to keep money in their pocket. Like, okay, I'm up 300. I'll put that in my pocket.
Yeah. So they don't see it in front of them and they're not tempted to risk it.
They're not tempted to use it. And so if they leave, they go home even or something like, it's a way of money management.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I don't fault people for doing that. But when they're thinking they're getting away with something, they're usually not.
Yeah. All right. Last episode, listener Anthony was asking for advice on how to learn Pai Gow Poker, and we recommended the Wizard of Odds Pai Gow Poker page as one option. Well, listener Jonathan emailed us recommending an app called Riverboat Gambler. We may have talked about this app on the show previously. Now, we are unfamiliar with the app, but according to Jonathan, it offers many different casino games that you can practice. It's all just for play money, including Pai Gow Poker, and it also offers strategy for some of these games. So thank you for the recommendation, Jonathan.
All of the games, if you play them for a while, you kind of intuitively figure out strategy and things to do.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Just practice playing is a great way.
Yeah. Games like roulette and craps, there's no decision to make other than what you're going to bet. Right. Whereas with blackjack, Pai Gow Poker, even 3-card poker to a certain extent, right? Because, whether you're going to stay in or not, those are strategies that you need to learn. So, yeah.
Right.
Hey, Dr. Mike, on our last episode, you had asked our listeners for some shoe donations if they had any old shoes lying around for the elementary school that you work out.
Yes.
What kind of response have you gotten?
Oh, we've got a great response.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we've collected quite a few pairs of shoes, and the listeners have been great.
Oh, that's terrific.
It's just amazing. I was telling Seth, actually, I sent him an email and said that when his shoes came, the principal and the superintendent of schools just happened to be in there, and they were just flabbergasted, excited as could be. And just by sheer coincidence, a couple of boys walked in. I kind of know their family story. There's 5 boys in that family and a mom and a dad. And the mom's got some real bad health problems that are, she's been in the hospital for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And the dad's trying to keep things together, working and taking care of 5 boys.
Yeah.
The oldest one, which is like in middle school. So, they range from, I think, 4 years old to like 13 or something. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And so the principal immediately, gave the 2 boys that walked in these new shoes. And I mean, their faces just lit up. And one of them said, oh, gosh, this is so great. Now our dad doesn't have to worry about shoes for us for a while. And, it's amazing. First of all, what great listeners we have.
Oh, my gosh. What a great community.
And how generous they are. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely blows my mind. And most of us take it for granted. We need new shoes. We go to the store and we buy new shoes. And for these kids, it was like, oh my God, I have a pair of shoes that don't have holes in them or that fit. The youngest of these 5 boys is a Downs child, and he's 4 years old. His name's Will. And he was just so happy to get some shoes. So anyway, if you could see his face, he's a cute kid.
Yeah.
Although he can sleep.
He can sleep.
He falls asleep, and it is so hard to wake him up. Every day I have to wake him up at 2:00 to go home.
Oh, well, great
anyway,
stories.
So thanks for everybody.
Yeah, great. Well, let's move on to our voicemails. First up is Eamon, again, with that promised report about London casinos.
Hello, gentlemen. Eamon from London here. Report from 3 London casinos and what ended up being the worst day of my life.
Huh?
So, first stop on my little journey was the Empire Casino. This is a really great spot, decent size. It's the place to go if you want to watch sports. It's not circuit by any means, but, they show baseball and American football. You name it, they have it. So at this casino, I started by playing blackjack. I won 5 of my first 6 hands. First hand was blackjack, won my next 3, and then my 5th hand, I also hit a blackjack. But I didn't realize until that second blackjack that I was actually at a 6-5 table. So that was quite annoying. I didn't even know they existed here. So I asked the dealer, I said, is there any 3-2 tables around? And he said, yep, other side of the casino. So I went to the other side of the casino, and there it was. It was also a 15-pound minimum table, so I'm not really sure why they're both 15, but one is 6-5 and one's 3-2. But it was also a big mistake to move to that other table. I ran into an absolute buzzsaw of a dealer. She just was winning every single hand. But the worst part was that it was incredibly slow. It was her first day, I believe. She had someone standing there with her the entire time, like helping her count to 21 and cut out the chips and figure out the payout for blackjack and that sort of thing. And then the card shuffler actually kept malfunctioning. So it was just a brutal 30 minutes. We probably played 20 hands. It was just absolutely awful. One redeeming fact was that when I called it up, they actually gave me 50 more pounds than I actually had. So that was nice. I know you guys have debated that quite a few times. But given the fact that there was a second person there actually watching as well and helping, I was like, you know what? That's on them at this point.
Yeah.
So after Empire, I went over to a casino called Horizons, which is literally like right next door. It's a much smaller venue, and they only had, I think, 2 blackjack tables and 1 3-card poker table open at the time. And then obviously all the roulette you can imagine. But I couldn't get on any of the tables. They were just jam-packed with people waiting. And I just decided to go to Old Reliable, the Hippodrome, which is just down the street. And this is when August 26, 2023 became the worst day of my life. So I go there quite regularly, and when I went in, I said hi to all the usuals and made my way up to the Casino of the Gods on the 5th floor, where the craps table is usually located. Except most of the floor was empty when I got there. So the optimist in me thought, oh, maybe they moved it back down to the basement where it used to be. And I asked the guy who was up there, I said, hey, where's the dice table? And he looked at me and he just said, sorry, mate, it's in the bin. Again, the optimist in me for about half a second was thinking, is this just another Britishism I'm not aware of? And it means it's in the basement? But the reality quickly set in, and as far as I can tell, there's no more craps tables here in London. My wife and I moved here last fall. We had our first kid here in February, but I just don't know if I can raise him in a crapless society. So if there's anyone out there in the community that knows of a table in London, or heck, even in the UK, please write into Mark, and he can pass it along to me. Okay, last bit. To anyone who listens to this show and has never donated, please donate to these guys. Get your Venmo out, send Mark $1. That's it, just $1. They've put on charity poker tournaments. They do meetups and train people, when they're at all these events. They kept us all entertained through COVID. Dr. Mike kept going and doing the podcast when he was sick and had bad back. So I just think they deserve all the support that we can give them. They never promote it, but they will actually take Venmo. And it's at MARK-DEVOL-2, the number 2. So that's at Mark-Deval-2. Peace.
Oh, thank you very much, Eamon. Appreciate that.
Very much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, no more craps in London.
Yeah, and there's a man of standards, Mark.
He's thinking about moving the family away,
Yeah, he will not raise his child in a crapless society. Oh, I love that. I don't blame him. I mean, I'd do the same thing. I'd be pretty upset.
So maybe there's some craps in the country somewhere, but not in the London area. Again, if any listeners know, give us a call. Mike, I'm trying to remember if I knew that there was 6-5 blackjack anywhere in Europe. It seems like I'm hearing this for the first time.
Me too. I don't think we've ever heard that.
Maybe we haven't. I'm just forgetting, but that's too bad. Gosh.
Yeah. Well, and the same $15 table.
Yeah.
So, what person is going to be playing the 6-5 when they can play the 3-2 for the same amount?
Yeah, well, gosh, if 000 roulette has told us anything. I mean, yes, okay, in most casinos, when you have 000 roulette, it's at a lower minimum than the 000 roulette or 0 roulette. But I think I've heard stories where, no, the limits are the same and it doesn't matter. People are just not that discriminating. Yeah. So maybe they're just testing it out.
It's people who are uninformed. There's a lot of people, what's the difference? They wouldn't know really what the difference is. Or, it's the guy who walks up and doesn't even know what the limits on the table are until
doesn't
they played 20 hands.
Yeah. Well, and Eamon didn't know. Of course, probably Eamon didn't even realize that was a possibility, that they would have a 6-5 table. So.
Right, yeah.
That's too bad. Well, Eamon, thanks for the report. We're going to hear from Eamon again next week. He called back with a trip report from an Amsterdam casino where he played a game called Dice Ball. So we'll find out what that's all about next time.
I'm laughing because just yesterday, Mark, I was telling my wife that, the word ball by itself is not funny.
No.
And the word sack by itself is not that funny.
No, it's not that funny.
But ball sack is hilarious.
It's very funny. You're taking all the bats and balls for the baseball games just in a big sack. Did you bring the ball sack? Oh, my God, I forgot again.
Oh, and if you put droopy in front of ball sack, I mean, the hilarity goes way up.
All right,
there.
I'm going to try to keep this a family-oriented gambling show by cutting you off right there. Hey, listen, everybody. You've probably heard about this huge cyber attack that hit the MGM casinos. Mike, you've heard about this, right? It's been in all the news this last week. It's apparently quite a mess. Well, I'll tell you, we've got boots on the ground. Let's hear from listener Brandon from Las Vegas.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike, it's Brandon here. Hey, I'm out in Vegas right now. I'm here for work, and I'm sure by now everybody knows about the hack or ransomware, whatever it is that's going on at all the MGM properties. I've scouted out a few of them. I've been told by all the staff that it is better than it was initially. It does look like at least MGM, New York, and Excalibur, all the slot machines are running. Everything is still 8K as of now. They said that's probably going to at least continue through the weekend. But again, they don't know. I don't know whether to be optimistic, pessimistic, whatever. You cannot get rated for your play at the table right now, at least at New York, and MGM. I didn't ask at Excalibur. The crowd seems to be in good spirits. However, I would say that on a Friday, I'm calling you on Friday the 15th of September, the crowd is relatively light at some of these casinos, at least on the MGM side. So it's different. It's almost in a weird way like COVID just, it reminds me of that in an odd way, like the casinos are scrambling to try to figure it out. But if you want a game, if you want to play, you can still do that. It's just a little bit different experience. Hopefully they'll figure this out in the next week or so. So that's what I got for you. I wish I had better news to pass along to the Vegas listeners on the podcast, but hopefully they'll get everything restored soon. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. Take care for now.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. We're recording this 2 days after Brandon left this call. So this episode is dropping 3 days after we got his call. So hopefully things are a little bit better. He mentioned that you couldn't get rated on table games. I assume that's true with the slots too.
Probably.
He said that it was still hand pays only at the slots. So you're probably not getting rated anywhere. But again, hopefully it's better. Now, our understanding is that Caesars was actually hit by a cyber attack too, but that they paid the ransom. And so they didn't see, this sort of disastrous situation that MGM has seen. Now, that was probably the right thing to do for Caesars in terms of not losing more revenue. Was it the right thing to do ethically? Who knows, right? I mean, these guys are basically criminals. It's interesting, but it's also been really hard for MGM and their customers. Again, hopefully things are getting better.
Yeah, that's been a big problem in every industry, really. I know in the dental industry, it's a big issue. A lot of people hacking in and holding their computer for ransom.
Oh, you mean like individual dentists?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is a lot of dentists have everything on their computer.
Sure. Well, of course.
And so when somebody locks their computer, they don't know who's coming in, their schedule, who owes them money, who doesn't owe them money. They recommend that people do a lot of backing up each day and stuff like that. But of course, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
So, and they're holding it ransom. And then, the dentist, what do? Do you pay this ransom? And these criminals kind of tailor it to your level in society, whereas they might ask the casino for millions upon millions of dollars. They ask the dentist for $5,000 or something, because they know they can pay $5,000 and they probably will. They won't pay $10,000. And so, it's just a big problem. I don't know what the solution for that is.
Yeah. Well, again, hopefully more security in place for, casino companies. I think the ones that weren't affected, their ears probably pricked up too and think, oh boy, maybe we need to relook at our situation. So
Yeah, and I wonder how that would affect like people's comps or offers. I mean, if they get into that and just get rid of everything, what would happen? I mean, people's like, oh yeah, I've got an offer. No, you don't, sir. We don't see it anywhere here.
I don't know.
You know, that kind of stuff. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
I don't
What a
know.
mess.
Yeah. Well, we also got a call from listener AJ, but AJ, you got cut off there. It sounds like you got interrupted by a personal call. So you started to tell a story and it sounded kind of interesting. So if you're able to call back and we'll play your call on the show. Hey, Dr. Mike, we're going to head out to Harris, Southern California this weekend, right?
Yeah, the 23rd.
Yeah, Saturday
I'm
the 23rd.
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've actually played.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to that. I've just been so busy with parents things and work things and all this and that. So I am really looking forward to a night of just plain craps.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to try to get there relatively early, maybe around noonish. Oh, I should say maybe like 2:00. And we're going to stay super late, right, Dr. Mike?
Yep, as late as we can.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to being very loud. You know, it's been a while since I've been very loud.
Really? I don't believe that, but okay.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to ask your family what they think about that.
Oh, they get it all the time, Mark.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about people I don't know.
Oh, in public, being very loud in public. I got you, Dr. Mike. Okay. Again, Saturday, September 23rd, Harris, Southern California. Hope to see you there. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring donations. Robin from Anytime Gambling, Nathan, and Brian Dancer. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from listener Anthony. Here's a green, meaning like a green casino chip, for the school's sneaker fundraiser. I'll be looking for the shout out. Okay, well, here's your shout out, Anthony. I'll make sure that money gets straight to you, Mike, so you can add it to the shoe donation.
I'll add it to there. Yeah, we'll go buy some shoes. And hey, Anthony, thank you very, very much. You're going to make somebody's day really happy.
All right, very good. We also got a donation from listener Ed. Karma donation for our group's upcoming trip to Vegas. We've been traveling to Vegas for 13 years together and have always stayed on the Strip. But for the first time, we'll be staying downtown at Circa. Love the show, Ed from Chicago. Oh, well, fantastic. Have a great trip and good luck, Ed.
You know, Mark, just listening to this, Ed's comments, I do kind of miss when all the gang, we used to all go. It wasn't just you and I.
Yeah.
But, you know, there'd be like 7 or 8 of us guys who were all friends and we'd go. And, you know, when you get older, life gets busy. We all had kids and we all had things. So it was hard to get the group together.
Yeah.
But I do kind of miss that.
I agree.
Something funny always happened, you know. Something to somebody.
It seemed like it happened a lot more when we were younger and poorer and we were sharing rooms and, you know, stuffing into one car. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, the home poker guys are talking about putting together a trip to Vegas. So if that happens, you know, maybe you can join us as well, and maybe we'll have another one of those trips.
Yeah, that'd be nice. With old guys like us, it won't be quite as exciting, but it's still kind of fun when you go with a group of buddies.
Yeah.
I remember taking one trip with Doug Morgan, our friend Doug Morgan. And at the time, he had a girlfriend and he only had a little tiny, one of those old Datsun trucks, you know, 2 seats in the front.
Right.
And then a bed in the back, those small Datsun trucks.
Yeah.
And I rode the whole way from San Diego to Vegas and then back to San Diego in the bed of that truck.
Fantastic.
And that was the roughest ride I've ever been on in my life.
That's terrific.
I mean, you feel like you're going deaf because you're on the road. You're in the back of the truck hanging on for your life. Well, Doug's in the front trying to chat up this new girlfriend. You know?
Oh, my God.
And every once in a while, I just hit on the back window there and look at him and say, we gotta stop. I need a break.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Hey, I think I realize why you're having all these health problems now. In your
Yeah, it could be. We were in our early 20s
Of
then,
course.
mid-20s. And talk about a stupid thing to do. I would never, ever do that again in my life.
Well, again, you wouldn't legally be able to now. So
Now we couldn't. Back then, you just pass a cop, flip him off, and keep going.
That's right. Hey, I rode in my share of truck beds when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all did. Hanging onto the wheel well for your dear life.
That's right. All right. You ready for the new spiel at the end of the show?
Oh, yes, I am.
All right, here we go. Well, hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet on That t-shirts. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on broadcast TV at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. And we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Dr. Mike, what have you got for us?
Well, Mark, I am extremely excited about football season being here.
Oh, because you've had some good picks.
Yes, I'd like to brag a little bit
All
about,
right.
The first weekend of college, I went 22-15
Very nice.
and followed it up with a second week of 13-7. And then this week, I did not do well.
I was going to say, your late games from college yesterday were stinkers.
Mark,
my God.
I was like 8-6, halfway through the day. And I thought, oh, good, it's going to be another good day. And then the late games, I won 1 out of like 8.
Yeah,
it was just ridiculous.
It was bad.
But even with this bad week, I am still 46 wins, 39 losses, and 2 ties.
Okay, in college.
Yeah. And I think currently, as of right now in the NFL, I am 11-8.
All right. Well, you certainly did well today in the NFL.
I did very well today. And there's still a game tonight.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple tomorrow and Monday. But I'm ahead better than 50% in both college and NFL. And I'm just going to savor that for a moment because it won't last long.
No, maybe I should start posting your picks to our Twitter account and then people can fade you and make some money.
Yeah, they're probably thinking, oh, he didn't go 22-15.
Yeah, we need to prove it.
13-7. Yeah. But I did. It's not easy with these football picks because, you've got a team plus 2.5 and they lose by 3.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, these odds makers really have this figured out, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, the NFL, they've got it figured out, you think?
They've got it figured out.
Yeah. All right.
And then also, Mark, before you go, we should mention about October 13th meetup in...
Oh, yeah, ZorkFest. Don't forget ZorkFest. I'll put another link in the show notes. Again, October 13th through the 15th at Harrah's in South Lake Tahoe. Beautiful region up there. So,
yes.
Yeah, we're definitely looking
pretty.
forward to that.
Worth going just for the scenery, really.
Oh, it's great up there.
Also, there's going to be everybody there, and it'll be fun to see everybody, and that'll be like our, buddy trip.
Right, yeah, that's true. There you go. That'll be like our buddy trip.
So we'll have to have something really embarrassing happen to somebody.
Oh,
probably,
okay. I'm sure it'll
probably
be you.
me.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be me.
Just get ready for it. All right. Well, hope to see everybody at Harrah's on Saturday. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
I'm so excited. Did you see the ring? Oh my God. I can't wait to tell my parents I'm marrying a doctor.
He's a dentist.
But it doesn't matter. The invitation will still read Dr. and Mrs. What's his last name?